What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to our season preview series. This is a series where I'm breaking down all 30 NBA teams before the start of the regular season, and now it's kind of the dead point in the basketball calendar. Nobody's really looking into basketball right now. People are focusing on football and other things, but if you're like me, you're a basketball sweat, and you're trying to get ready for the season. It's really not that far away. You want to take a look at each team, see the moves that they've made, and just see who your favorite team is going to be in competition with this year, and that's what I'm here to help you guys with today. So in this video, we're going to be diving into the San Antonio Spurs, everybody's favorite little perfect organization, aren't they? But in this video, we're going to tackle what did they look like last year, some goals that we have for them this year, what did their off-season look like. It was another fun one for them, a complete roster breakdown where we'll tackle player salaries, team salary cap situation, draft assets. We'll make some mock trades during that portion. We'll go through rotation, lineup ideas, and then finish with the standings prediction at the very end of the video. But before we get into all that, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. There's a bunch of other season previews for you guys to go and watch. There's actually a bunch more than you even see on the screen right now because I'm pre-recording a bunch of stuff while wifey is out of town for the weekend, right? So just keep that in mind. I know it's not the biggest time for basketball during the year, so however we can help out these videos getting some views, I would surely appreciate it because I'm doing it for you, you basketball sweat. If you're watching this video, you're a sweat, which good for you. Good for you. But anyway, I appreciate it. Let's go talk about the Spurs. And that brings us back to the season preview spreadsheet. For those of you new to the channel, I like to kind of build these spreadsheets to help articulate and visualize the stories that I'm trying to tell here on my YouTube channel. And you can actually get access to these spreadsheets. It's really simple. Go down into the description of this video. You'll see a link to join my Discord. It's completely free. Hop on there, go to the announcements channel, and then there's a download link to get this spreadsheet. And I'm updating it every day just to try to, one, catch up with some data, but also just keep it as accurate as possible for you guys. So just keep coming back and get the most up-to-date versions as needed. But anyway, the Spurs, let's go to the intro tab. We always use this tab to, one, just kind of talk about what the team looked like last year and, you know, talk about some goals that we have for the next year. So year two, and really what we should call, like what I should say is this is year two of the Victor Wembanyama road to glory, right? Just 2 years ago, you guys got Victor. Great, probably the best prospect that I've ever professionally evaluated. For those of you that don't know, I run a basketball statistics and consulting company that one of the services I offer is I will go and scout people for like NBA teams. I've been hired the past couple of years to do so, and he's got to be like the craziest prospect I ever looked at. I remember when people were looking at him and being like, well, maybe he won't be that good. I'm like, nope, I don't think we're going to fail on this one, man. Unless he literally just like snaps in half, I don't think we're going to fail with this one. And he has not let us down, man. Victor Wembanyama is one of the best players we have in basketball. And this team is doing all the things the right way, man, as we expect the Spurs to do. They're just one of those kind of goated organizations that just knows how to go about building things. Last year, didn't do anything like too crazy with their roster. They did their smart thing and brought in Chris Paul to be like, hey, teach all of our young guys the things that they need to learn. We know we're a long ways away from competing still at a super high level, but let's just work on the little things, right? Like, let's make sure we're getting Wemby the ball in certain spots on the court. Let's make sure we know how to run this offense. Where do we cover people during this time? Or situational stuff in games. That's what you did. And you also went in and brought in a Harrison Barnes, another great move. So this team is doing the right thing, right? They've brought in the right vets to kind of help grow these younger players, and now we're going to try to start to win some basketball games going forward. Obviously, last year, Victor Wembanyama went down with the blood clot issue, which is always a very, very scary thing, but from my understanding, should be back better than ever this year, and that is awesome. So last year, the Spurs finished 34-48. Not good enough for a play-in spot or anything, but that's okay because they ended up back in the lottery and got a lot of lottery luck in what is considered a very stacked draft class. So that is why I have moved this team out of what was a rebuilding team and into a growing team. If you guys are new to this series, basically I have 5 categories that you can fall into as an organization. You've got the selling team. Those are teams just trying to blow things up and reset their organization. You have rebuilding teams that are kind of looking for those base couple of players to kind of start to build your franchise around. Then you have the growing teams, meaning you found those base couple players, and I think that this team has. I think they've got a good crop of young guys now that at least I feel pretty confident in kind of growing the team with. You've got quite a few assets, so it's time to start winning some basketball games, and I'm not saying you got to be like the 1 seed or anything this year, but it's like, okay, let's put some expectations on us this year. So the Spurs find themselves as growers. Then you have contenders, meaning, hey, you've kind of grown up, your players are kind of in the prime of their career now, and so now we're really trying to win championships, right? And then you got the who the fuck knows teams, because there's always a couple of those teams. We've covered quite a few of those teams recently. That is the one status you really do not want to find yourself in. At least all of these have a direction. Who the fuck knows means that there is no direction whatsoever. But the Spurs, you're progressing, man. Only 2 years into drafting your franchise player, and I think you're already a growing team. Good for you guys, right? A little bit of lottery luck definitely helps, but hey, you know what? Luck favors those who maybe deserve it. So there we go. Goals for this season. Number 1, be patient. Look, this is growing. Growing does not happen overnight, right? For any of you that at maybe one point when you were younger, you used to like measure yourself like all the time. It was agonizing that you couldn't get taller any faster, and maybe you just stopped growing at a certain point, and that sucked. I was always a pretty tall kid. Like I kind of just always grew like 2 to 3 inches every year. I'm 6'5" now, for those that are curious, but it took time to get to 6'5". I think I was 14 and I was like 6'4" maybe, and then by like 14 and a half, I think I capped out at like 6'5" or something like that, and then it was done. Then your boy was done growing. But like me, this team, it's gonna take a little bit of time to get there. It's just the 3rd year of Victor Wembanyama. Most people don't win championships until they're like 26, 27 years old. So give it some time. Shea's 26. He's on the lower end of the spectrum. He just won his first championship, right? Just make sure that you're patient, Spurs fans. I know you want to get to the championship. You got a great player in Wembanyama and everything. A lot of the other guys are even younger than him, right? So let's relax. I know it should be a fun season, but be patient, right? Don't do anything hasty. Next thing, experiment with the guard rotation. You have a good problem on your hands. You have a lot of very interesting guards on this team. We're not sure which one of them's fit the best and kind of where they should play during what points of the game, so we've got some experimentation to do, right? This is the growing pains that we kind of are talking about here. We're going to try to mix and match all these different kind of interesting guards, see which ones fit best. And then finally, establish a true Wemby scheme. And it doesn't have to be perfect by the end of the year, but up to this point, the Spurs have been kind of experimenting with him, right? He's a unicorn player, right? There's no one else really like him out there. And so the Spurs have kind of been, it feels like, trying a bunch of different little things with him. Last year, they were like, hey, you're going to exist like solely beyond the three-point line, and we're just going to let you chuck so you can get confidence in your three-point shot or whatever, right? It got a little repetitive, and there were definitely points last year where we were like, okay, Spurs, can we not do this right? But I don't think it's such a big deal, right? The Spurs have a reason that they're doing the things that they're doing. They're trying to get exposure to this young guy and just see where he kind of fits with things. Let's try to put a more consistent scheme around him this year. And I don't know exactly what that is because he is such an odd player, but I'd be curious to see kind of how it's going to work this year. So now that those goals have kind of been established, remember those for the rest of this video because they're going to be important as we talk about the other factors that go along with this team. But I want to move on to their offseason because they definitely had a good one in my mind. Alrighty, the off-season tab here. If you guys watched this series last year, you remember that we break down the off-season into 3 different portions. First, drafted players. Players that you drafted this year that are going to be on the full-time roster, the new young guys. Player departures, guys that were on the full-time roster at the end of last season that will no longer be on the team for various reasons. And then players brought in. These are the new faces on the team that you have to learn, Spurs fans. Guys that were brought in either via trade or free agency that will be on the full-time roster. And mind you, like if you're on like an Exhibit 10 or an Exhibit 9 deal, you're not on the full-time roster yet. So I don't want to see anybody, because at the time of recording this, this is what they have. I don't want to see anybody being like, AVC, Bismack Biyombo has an Exhibit 10 deal. He's going to be on the team, AVC. I don't fucking know that, Billy. Shut up, okay? I don't know that. I gotta have rules and standards, otherwise we live in chaos, Billy, you dumb fuck. But anyway, okay, let's start off with the drafted players here. Let's go up top here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just so we can see them. As I mentioned before, I've covered these drafts professionally the past couple years, and if you want to see some of my takes on these guys and get some in-depth knowledge on some of the rookies on your team, you can go and look at my 2025 NBA draft prospect videos here, where I gave you some pretty honest opinions on the film of these guys. So Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant, both of them right here. And I'll just start off by saying I loved the Spurs draft. I really, really did. I thought it was awesome. The Spurs, they lucked out again. The basketball gods blessed one of their most loyal servants in the Spurs and said, all right, we know you got Wemby already and you were a solid enough team, but we're also going to give you the number 2 pick in a pretty loaded class and a player that we think could be an all-NBA guy at some point. So they drafted Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, 6'6", true point guard, 6'6", 220-ish already, which is enormous for a guard like this. And what did we see out of Dylan Harper at Rutgers? Well, first of all, motherfucker had to play at Rutgers. That was a disaster for them last season. I saw a lot of people being like, AVC, how good can Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey be if they're not making March Madness? Well, Billy, you can look at things in two directions always, right? And so you could look and say, why weren't they good enough? It's more so, why are their other teammates so bad? It was rough, man. Their supporting cast was not good there in Rutgers. But despite all that, Harper and Ace had pretty good years for them, all said and done. And what we saw to Dylan Harper that we don't see out of many young guards is the ability to have just counter move on counter move on counter move. When you guys watch Shea or Jalen Brunson play, it's really satisfying to just kind of watch them break people down methodically. That takes a lot of skill to be able to kind of play that game of chess, and he can already do that. He's already got 7 to 8 different counter moves that I've counted, and most people only have 1, maybe 2 at this age. So Dylan Harper, far ahead of the game. He's a big Jalen Brunson. Defensively can make an impact, can play with or without the basketball, shows that he can shoot a little bit. Like with any young player, the shooting's kind of meh, right? But I have no reason to think that it can't be good at some point. He hit clutch shots. He's got a good handle. He saw the passing lanes really well. This guy looks to be a future All-NBA type of player. I really do think so. And now he's on your team. So there you go. You got Dylan Harper now. That's awesome. And then you had a second lottery pick, and you went and got Carter Bryant, another guy that I'm very excited about, but kind of a mystery player. Carter Bryant only scored 6 points a game in college, but enough of us NBA scouts took a look at this guy and were like, nah, this guy's better suited for the NBA than college basketball. The talent's just very obvious. You have a 6'8" guy that's incredibly athletic. Shooting form looks pretty good. He was hitting his shots in college, mind you, very little of them. And so we're like, okay, 6'8" wing, maybe 3-and-D guy, looks pretty good, high upside potential. We'd rather just draft him now and start developing all this talent than let Arizona and some other college team fuck him up because they don't know how to develop talent in college basketball more often than not. So the Spurs took Carter Bryant. That's a position of need for them. This is a high upside player that now is going to be coached by some of the best people in the world. That is awesome. I think when the Spurs drafted Carter Bryant, we all went, damn it, the Spurs. They're gonna make this guy into a stud, aren't they? And it could happen, man. I know we all saw the couple highlights of him in the summer league, just absolutely beating the shit out of some of those balls off the glass or whatever. That sounded kind of strange, but you know what? That's okay. But anyway, Carter Bryant, awesome pick for them. Gonna take some time. Don't expect a ton out of him right away, but I really like him as a prospect. So great draft. Player departures, Chris Paul. We talked about how big of an addition he was last year. He is now off the team. He's gonna go try to win a championship, which hats off to. All we can do, if you're a Spurs fan, is say thank you. We don't want to forget the chapter that he played in the development of some of the young guys on this team, man. Whether it was him yelling at Stephon Castle a bunch last year for always kind of being in the wrong spots for things and not knowing where to be in certain coverages, to just getting Wemby the ball in places that made his life a little bit easier. We thank Chris Paul for taking some time to, collect a bit of a paycheck, but also just develop the young guys, right? So very good. Thank you very much, Chris Paul. Good luck this next season. Mamu's off the team now. I know. It sucks to lose Mamu. Not exactly what you want out of a current big man. The mobility and some of the passing is kind of cool. You maybe wish he was a little bit better rebounder. Defensively, he's just in the garbage most of the time. It's just not something he's all that good at, but he keeps the ball moving and stuff. He was able to play off Wemby at points, and he's on his way to Toronto now, but fear not, you've got some new bigs on the team that I think will make up for it. Malachi Branham, a young player that you've been experimenting with for a little while now, finally figured out how to not just shoot mid-range shots, and he was hitting some three-pointers this last year, but otherwise, Nothing too crazy going on with his game. Slightly undersized wing that, like we said, he wants the ball in his hands and he's just not going to get to have it. So we move on from Malachi Branham. Blake Wesley, kind of just a worse version of Branham. I hate to be that blunt about it, but it kind of is. There's not really an efficient part of his game. Defensively, he's a little bit better than Branham. It's still not that great, right? So you moved on from both of these guys. You freed up some roster space. I think that that's okay. They were experiments, and not every experiment works out. And then finally, Charles Bassey, reserve big man that's pretty good rebounding-wise and will block some shots. Tough-minded dude. Dealt with a lot of injuries as of late, and he's still kind of a free agent at the time of recording this, so I don't think you're missing out on too much by not having Bassey come back. So overall, you didn't lose too much. The Chris Paul thing, that is hard to overcome, but there's a lot of good guards on this team. I think they'll be okay. Next up, the players you brought in. Luke Cornett, a player that at one point I just did not like watching him play basketball when he first got into the league because he was a stretch big that could not shoot, and I was like, the fuck is the point of this? Like, I don't understand at all, especially when he was on the Bulls. I was like, dude, what are you doing, dog? Like, you can't hit a fucking shot to save your life. Luke Cornett, since going to the Celtics, a good organization, they have figured him out. Now, all of a sudden, he's like an around-the-rim player, sometimes even a lob threat, which is kind of crazy. Nothing I would have saw or thought to have seen out of him. An elite rebounder, a good rim protector, things like that. Luke Cornett is a very positive player, and so he has been paid now for the first time in his career. He's getting a nice little paycheck to come to the Spurs, be kind of a backup big, because this team was really struggling with its big men rotation whenever Wemby wasn't in the game. So now you got Luke Cornett, and also just nice to have like an older big on the team. And speaking of like older bigs, you've also brought in Kelly Olynyk, kind of a different look as well. This is the true spacing big, a guy that has been able to shoot quite a few threes in his career. The quantity of, or how should I best, the ratio of threes that he's taking dropped pretty significantly this last year in particular, but he was also in some not so great like situations basketball wise, so I can kind of let that go. Otherwise, like, more than competent, moving the ball around, doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Defensively solid because he's pretty tough, right? So overall, you brought in two nice other bigs. This team needed some, and you got them. This is what smart organizations do. It find some good vets, pay them a good amount of money to come in and teach some of the young guys. Now you brought a couple of those in. You also brought in Lindy Waters, who it wasn't a great season for Lindy this last year. We're all still kind of living off that time where he was with OKC and he was shooting like a fuck ton of threes and hitting like 43% of them. And that was what, like 2, maybe 3 years ago now? I think it was 2 years ago. So maybe you get another shooting wing that he's never been like that great defensively, but hey, he's a kind of end of the bench cheap guy. We'll see what happens with him, right? That's probably the best way to look at it. So overall, I think it was a good offseason, man. If nothing else, you nailed the draft, and you were like a rebuilding team. Dylan Harper seems like a phenomenal guy to have going forward. I think Carter Bryant is a long-term starter for you. I really do. I think this team will develop him well. Most of these guys, you're not missing them too much. Like I said, we say so long, good luck to Chris Paul. Thank you very much. And I thought you brought in some good guys here, and there's still an open roster spot, so we'll see what they kind of do with that. But overall, good offseason to the Spurs. You didn't spend like too much or anything. You didn't go crazy. Let's grow. Let's grow with the team. Good stuff. Let's talk about the rest of the roster. Alrighty, the roster breakdown tab. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you definitely recognize this tab. This is something that we use in a lot of different series. And what's nice about it is you can look at a bunch of different aspects of a team kind of like all at once with this tab. And I really like it because you've got like the current roster right here where you can take a look at like salaries, options, some stats with the players. You've got the team salary cap situation, draft assets that we'll talk about here. And then the thing that nobody ever gets mad about in the comment section is the depth chart. Honestly, people don't get too mad at it at this point because I've called it out so much. I've educated the community, but I'm sure somebody's going to be like, AVC, I see Dylan Harper as a shooting guard. Cool. I see you as a fucking idiot. But that's just what I'm saying. But anyway, where I want to start off with is kind of like the current roster breakdown. We'll get you familiar with the rest of the players on here, but before we even do that, AVC, what are these numbers right here? These are EPM numbers. They stand for estimated plus minus. Basically a really advanced statistic that we have in basketball that tells you how good somebody is at offense defense, and then overall as a basketball player. I then take those numbers and normalize them or index them, whatever you want to call them, so you can get a 0 to 100 score comparing them against everyone else in the NBA. Closer to 0 means you're the worst at something. Closer to 100 means you're one of the best at something. So I think it's always important for me to note, because I'm the guy that owns the basketball statistics consulting company, don't just look at a stat and assume that that's like the entire story. Stats will never be able to capture all the like nuances and little context points that exist out there for why a stat is the way it is. If a stat says someone's not very good at defense, ask yourself why. Why is that person not good at defense? Is it a them problem? Is it a team and situation problem? What's kind of going on here? Because otherwise you just have a number. You don't have a story. And you need to be able to kind of tell that complete story in order to actually analyze something to its entirety. So just a good practice thing for you, and just a good way to go about life. Ask yourself why something is happening and do a little bit of research. Be curious. Intellectual curiosity is a good thing. But anyway, let's start off at the top. De'Aaron Fox. Wow, you got De'Aaron Fox last year. Something we didn't talk about in kind of the little intro tab here, because I wanted to touch on it more here. The Spurs really lucked out. De'Aaron Fox put his team in a chokehold last year. After being a very good player for the Kings for a long time, kind of borderline all-star younger point guard, he went up to his team and was like, hey, I know you got to sign me to an extension kind of soon. And they were like, yeah, that's true, De'Aaron. You're right about that. He's like, yeah, when I become a free agent, I'm going to the San Antonio Spurs. And by the way, he didn't just say it to them. He looked outside the room and yelled it as loud as he could. And he was like, hey, when my contract's up, I'm going to the Spurs. And then he looked back at them and he's like, might as well fucking trade me now then so you can get something for it. I'd rather get there sooner. And the Kings were like, fuck. And so they looked around, tried to trade him to other places. The other teams are like, why? No, I'm not going to do this or whatever. And they ended up figuring a way to get him to the Spurs. And I'll continue to say, I thought the Kings did okay, all said and done in that trade. I honestly think the loser of that trade was still the Chicago Bulls amongst all of it. It still sucks that the Kings had to lose De'Aaron Fox, right? He's one of the better things that has come out of their franchise in the past, like, 20 years. But now you've got De'Aaron Fox on this team, who is still lightning quick, right? Great at getting to the rim, creating, one of the more clutch players we have in basketball. The three-point shot, yep, is still a question mark, but he's a good playmaker, gets other people involved. Like, this is a borderline all-star player that you now gave an extension to, which I was surprised they did that. I kind of figured they would give it a year, but I'm also assuming that there was an under-the-table thing during the trade that said, like, hey, we will give you an extension around this range once we trade for you. So I'm guessing this is more so the Spurs kind of being like, hey, handshake negotiation. They didn't know they were going to get Dylan Harper, right? So you did the right thing. You made the right business move. You got De'Aaron Fox, and he's on your team now. Again, it's not a bad problem to have a bunch of guards. How he's going to fit with Wemby, we don't exactly know. We haven't really seen them together yet because they both had injuries at the end of the season. But yeah, I'm excited to see how they do this year. Devin Vassell, one of my more favorite younger players in the NBA. Defensively, yep, Devin Vassell needs to get a little bit better. I feel like I don't exactly have a great grasp as to like why he's not a better defender. I feel like some of it's like young, and he doesn't always have like the greatest like team around him. I sometimes feel like the scheme isn't in depth enough for this group either, for them to maybe utilize like Wembanyama and other things a little bit better to help out of Vassell, but is what it is. Offensively, though, this is a guy that can go get you 20 points on any given night. And here's the cool thing is, most of the time, he doesn't have the basketball. This is a guy that runs off a lot of screens and can get to his spots in the court that way. And I always really like players like that. Too many people want the ball nowadays, and don't get me wrong, sometimes he does. But I like that he's able to create so much without the basketball. The three-point shot is starting to go up a lot more, which is nice. He's definitely an above-average shooter now, and we're starting to get more and more attempts up, which is great. The more you can do that, the more valuable you're going to be to this group. And he's just one of these guards that we're like, okay, what are we doing with him? Harrison Barnes, we loved the Harrison Barnes addition last year. You paid a bunch to have a vet on the team that's going to help kind of stabilize the young guys. Harrison Barnes not doing much defensively at this age. He's really not, man. But offensively, dude's still extremely efficient. Like, he is hitting those three-point shots. He's still getting to the rim pretty well, just playing off of other people. It's nice to have a good vet on the team like Harrison Barnes. Definitely a guy we want to keep around this year. Keldon Johnson, maybe Spurs fans, this is one that you don't want to talk about quite as much. Keldon Johnson can be probably a little bit frustrating if you're a Spurs fan. Defensively, yep, never knows where he's supposed to be on the court. It is a struggle. And we all remember when Keldon Johnson was getting you like 20 points a night like some years ago now as a younger player, but he's not a young guy anymore, right? And so it's kind of feels like this is what Keldon Johnson maybe is, and that's okay. And what is he exactly? He's a guy that now relentlessly attacks the rim, especially now that he changed his number to 0 and he looks like Westbrook out there. He just goes at the rim, to which he's fine at. Can I get an actual number check on that? Where is Keldon Johnson in rim attack? You see, oh man, it's even below average, which for how much he attacks and his size and strength, yes, guards are always going to be like a little bit lower, so this isn't like bad. Like, you should look at this 47 percentile and see it more as like slightly above average, but I'd like it to be a little bit higher because he's so ineffective in the other parts of the game. And like the free throw percentage still isn't that great. He's not playmaking out of it either, so kind of a losing basketball player, if you would. Like, he's not playing winning basketball. We need him to be able to add some sort of part to his offensive game, because if he's not going to do anything defensively, we at least need you to be more efficient offensively. So definitely question marks there, because we're paying him a decent amount of money. Already talked about Kelly Olynyk, Victor Wembanyama. What do I need to tell you? Have you guys been watching like everything he's been doing this offseason, whether it's playing in like chess championships or whatever, to like building all these like Lego fortresses or whatever, to training in China with the monks, doing training sessions with Kevin Garnett then like right afterwards. This guy's he's the most enlightened like 21-year-old I've ever seen in my life. He's amazing. He's an awesome basketball player, top 10 in the league already. I don't want to beat a dead horse over it. He's awesome, man. He's the perfect San Antonio Spurs. So there you go. We love Wemby. Let's keep him healthy this year, and like we talked about, let's try and find a more consistent role for him. Already talked about Dylan Harper and Luke Cornett. Stephon Castle. Yeah, you just had this fun guy that you took with the number 2 overall pick in Dylan Harper, but guess what? You just had a Rookie of the Year in Stephon Castle. Now, mind you, this is one of the more underperforming Rookie of the Years than we've had in recent years. It was not a very good rookie draft class, but that's not to take things away. When we evaluated Stephon Castle the year before, I was the one saying, hey, if Stephon Castle had any offensive consistency whatsoever, he would be the number 1 pick in this draft. It is that clear, because he's good at everything else. He's a good defensive player, he's a good playmaker, and mind you, for his age, right? He's good at those things for his age. He's got some creation skills, he's got a pretty good handle on the basketball, he's a great athlete, he just couldn't shoot for shit. And guess what? This year, pretty much the same thing. Dude couldn't shoot for shit. Now, defensively, a lot of Spurs fans like to kind of ride his lap a little bit and be like, AVC, he's an elite defensive. Nope. No, he's not yet. He makes a lot of good defensive plays. He's got some good defensive reads, and I think he projects there. Right now, he's not a good defensive player. Like I said, if you watched last year, Chris Paul is yelling at him all the time. He's like, I just see him going like, Stephon, what are you doing? like I remember a couple times him literally pushing him out there to go be where he needs to be. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's going to take some time. I don't want to like shit on your parade or anything. It's going to take some time. He made a lot of great defensive plays last year. He really did. So just calm down. It's a young defensive player, or just a young guard in general. That's hard to do. But what we did see is a guy that could create for himself a little bit, plays with some good energy. We just need to get a little bit more behind his offensive game. Let's find Castle here. So we weren't very good at the rim last year. Mid-range, bleh. 3-point percentage, really bad. Not a great rebounder. He's small, but the assist numbers are pretty good, and the turnovers are pretty low, all said and done, for someone of his position and where he's at age-wise. I think that that's awesome. So I'm excited about Stephon Castle's future. Where he fits with the other guys, though, like we said, that's the biggest question. Jeremy Sohan, another younger player that you took with a lottery pick. Last year, I think, was the best that we've had of Jeremy Sohan, which I know Spurs fans might be raising an eyebrow a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, no, it wasn't anything all that great beforehand. Defensively, he's awesome. Like, Sohan is a really, really good defensive player. Offensively, we've always been frustrated with him because he can't shoot the outside ball that well, and they tried to play him at point guard that one time, and that didn't really work. Last year, he really settled into letting others create for him, which I know I'm pulling up the numbers a lot right now, but I want to use an example because I feel like I'm going to be correct in looking at this. Shots percent assisted right here. So look at this. When he got into the league, 64% of his shots, which is below league average, were shots that he created, or shots that were assisted by like somebody else, right? Now that number's like shot up a lot more, so he's not trying to create as much. He's playing off of other people, which when you take a look at like rim efficiency, all of a sudden now the dude can like finish at the rim and be a playmaker because he does have good size, he's a good athlete. So I think that's where we need to go. If we can get this guy to shoot from the outside a little bit, we could get there. We could get there. Already talked about Carter Bryant. Julian Champagnie. Ooh, I love the Champagnie dudes. I think they're awesome. Kind of an underrated player in the NBA offensively. Pretty efficient. Gets up a lot of three-pointers. Makes a very solid amount of them. And defensively, I think he's better than the number honestly suggests. I think a lot more of his minutes came when Wemby was kind of out last year. And look, this team just plummeted when Wemby wasn't in the game, right? Because he was such a big part of their kind of game plan defensively. But he's got good size. He knows how to play without the basketball. I want to say, I keep going back to the statistics, but I want to say he had a lot of deflections or something last year. Nope, I'm incorrect in thinking. So I guess he could have still had the deflections, but I don't know. I like Champagnie's game. I think he's a cool kind of role player to have on the team. You have him at great value. Keep it up. Talked about Lindy Waters already, and then Jordan McLaughlin is here at the end. Very small guard that's really just kind of taking the attitude of I'm going to try to be a playmaker off the bench defensively. He's really small, so there's only so much he could do, but he's feisty. He gets a lot of steals, hands on ball often for him, which also sounds sus. Relax, it's all good. But solid athlete, quick dude, right? Plays his ass off. He's not trying to score quite as much, and he's a good three-point shooter, so nice reserve guard. Looking at the depth chart now, the center position was a big problem after Wemby this last year. We've cleaned it up. We got some vets there now. Looking at the forward spot, a lot of good things going on here between Barnes, Sohan, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Champagnie. You'd like to get Carter Bryant out there. So honestly, it's going to be, let's see who earns the minutes out of there this year. There's definitely some solid options. No studs, but some solid options. And then at the guard, ooh, there's a lot of them right between Fox, Harper, and Castle. Those are a lot of good options that you can go to, man, all with their flaws. A lot of them unproven, but we feel excited about it. This is what a growing team should look like, man. We're going to try to get these guys on the court and make some things happen. Let's take a look now at their team salary space, or salary cap space. For those of you new to this series or you just don't know how the NBA salary cap works, basically there's 4 levels to it. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of them. First, the cap line itself. Once they cross that line, which they have, that's why this number is a 0, you can only re-sign your own players to anything more than a minimum contract. There are exceptions to those rules, but there's a lot of them, and we're not going to talk about them here. The luxury tax line, that's the scary one. Once you cross this, which this team is about $8 million away from, that's when your team gets way more expensive to operate. And every consecutive year you spend above that luxury tax threshold, that's when you get to the point where the compound interest becomes so much that you kind of pop like the Celtics did this offseason. You have to trade all your players, right? It's just what happens because you can't operate as a business anymore. Then you have the first and second aprons. If you want to read all the little things about the aprons, you can pause the video and read them here. I've got them up on the screen, but just know these are newer things that the NBA has added in to kind of balance out competition, help make star players a lot harder to trade because it's not as good for the league if they get traded. But as you go deeper into these aprons, the NBA starts choking you out and saying, you can't do this anymore, you can't do this anymore, you can't do this, you can't do this, until the point where you get hard capped and they say, the only way for you to go from here is down. You should only be in these aprons if you're a true contender, man, because it gets scary up there and it gets hard to make shit happen. Spurs in a good space right now because they are paying some good people on the team. They're not in the luxury tax yet. You don't want to start the clock. But I will say, I am a little bit concerned because we're not that far away from having to pay a Victor Wembanyama. At some point, you're going to have to pay a Stephon Castle. Presumably, he's going to be around. Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper are just rookies, but eventually you're going to have to start paying these guys, right? You're already paying Fox a good amount of money. You just gave him the extension. I look at guys like a Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. He'll fall off the books by that time, but Vassell could be an odd man out because we've got a lot of other guys at those positions, and he's getting paid over those couple years. I don't want to start the luxury tax timer until I absolutely have to, and he might be an odd man out. It doesn't have to happen this year, but just kind of know that that's something that I'm thinking about and considering for this group. Then finally, the draft pick selection. This team's got plenty of draft picks going forward. Good for them. They've been rebuilding the right way. Not only do they have like their own picks kind of going forward, they also have some Atlanta Hawks picks who knows how good they're going to be any given year, right? There's a lot of decisions that need to be made with that organization. Those could be really valuable. Then you have a bunch of second round picks that you can package together. And hey, if you ever become a contender at some point and you are in that luxury tax space, maybe by 29 and 2030, these second round picks could be really valuable because it gives you cheap guys to put at the end of your bench. That only costs like $1 million. Helps you stay away from these aprons so you can still be flexible. So good job, San Antonio. You're doing things correct. We're very proud of you. Very good job. So trades, right? Trades. What do we want to do trade-wise? Well, here's my thought, right? There's both the idea that we want to get certain guys on the court if we can, right? There's that idea. There's the idea of maybe trying to clear some space in Devin Vassell. Maybe that's an option as well. There's also just the idea of like, hey, we're a growing team. We are trying to like win some basketball games. Maybe it's just as simple as just going and finding one more vet to throw into the rotation somewhere. Maybe it's like another forward or something like that. I don't know, but we don't want to just mortgage anything right now. I don't foresee a certain like star player becoming available out of nowhere that this team just like has to have for whatever reason. You kind of got De'Aaron Fox for free already, which is great. So let's move on to the trade portion of the video and see what kind of moves we want to make. Alrighty, and that brings us back here to Fanspo. Fanspo, for those of you that don't know, really cool website where you can do like these mock trades, do mock drafts, make big boards. They've even got like the grid builders or whatever that are kind of fun. We love Fanspo. It's a really cool website. It's completely free, not sponsored or anything. I just think it's really cool what they've built here. But here's the problem. Because it's a free website, my assumption is that the people that run it aren't necessarily incentivized to come on here and update it all the time. Their trade machine is not up to date. I go check it every day. It's like a sad Christmas every morning that they haven't gone and added the rookies or anything to this yet. So the numbers aren't accurate on here. And this is not for us trying to shame Fanspo. This is just our plea in every video to be like, hey, Fanspo, please, we want to use your website. We love it so much. Can you please update it? Please and thank you. We love you. But instead, we're going to use SpotTrack. SpotTrack has a beta trade machine that you can use. Not as good as Fanspo, but they do update their numbers all in like real time, which is awesome. So we're going to be using that. Okay, who do we want to trade? I think the obvious person here is Keldon Johnson, right? $17.5 million for someone at his production level is kind of like, you know, especially when like Champagnie, we're comfortable with him being out on the court. It'd be nice if we could move Carter Bryant up the depth chart. So what are you getting for a Keldon Johnson is the question, right? Like, you have to hope that he's like somewhat efficient next year. You kind of have to put him on the court now to kind of show him off a little bit, show people that he can do some stuff, but it's probably going to have to be a more desperate team that takes him on because he is more of a question mark. So something to kind of consider there. I definitely want to hold on to like Olynyk. He's an expiring contract. So is Barnes. They're expiring unless an absolutely perfect player comes along. We're fine with Cornette. I'm cool with keeping Sohan on the team. There's really not a need to trade. If the right move became available for Vassell, I'd be down for it if we could get like an expiring contract. I tried to do a John Collins trade with them during Ideal Offseason that I thought was awesome. Like, I think John Collins will help you win more games this next year, and he'll fall off the books after a year. So I kind of liked that move. But regardless, I think we're just gonna look at like a Keldon Johnson type move. So what teams could use a wing like this? And more so just who are the desperate teams in the NBA? Like Philly, yes, but they don't necessarily need those types of players. I don't think we can do a Terry Rozier. I know we've done a lot of Terry Rozier swaps and stuff this year, but I don't think we can necessarily help them out with that. That's too much money that we're taking on in that move. So I don't think we can help them out with things. Celtics, no. Cavs, no. Bucks are desperate. Is there any way that we could help out the Milwaukee Bucks at all by giving them a Keldon Johnson? They probably wouldn't mind having a guy that's going to try to score. Is it a perfect fit? No, but they just need anything, right? So there is the Kyle Kuzma angle. We take on a little bit more money, which I don't know why we would do that. We'd have to take on like a draft pick too or something. I don't think they're giving us Bobby Portis. Nah, I don't see this one happening. I don't think that makes sense. Toronto, they do love their lengthier wings, but I guess Keldon Johnson's not that tall, so not a big deal. Detroit, no, they need an outside shooter. Knicks, no. Pacers, they could always use another wing, but probably don't want to pay for it. No. Charlotte, no. Not seeing something here. The Pelicans, no. The Kings, we could call up the Kings again. They might not be happy with us at this point, but, you know, we did okay by them. We gave them some shit despite it being kind of a weird situation. Is there anything that we would consider here with the Kings? We could go after like a Malik Monk. I don't really want that, though. If I could get Keegan Murray somehow off of this team, that'd be sick. I don't necessarily see it happening, and I don't want any of these other guys, so I think I will pass on the Kings as well. Denver, the Lakers. Lakers just want to make trades more so than anything, it seems like, if you ask the people online. But no, probably not a move there. Golden State, potentially they could use a little bit of wing help here. You'd have to do like a Kuminga sign and trade though, wouldn't you? Unless it's like Moody. Would you give up Moses Moody for Keldon Johnson if you're Golden State? Probably not. Probably not. Not necessarily. So we're going to move on from that one as well. Phoenix. They're kind of a desperate team. We could look to them too. You guys see how hard it is to make some of these moves, right? It's got to be the right fit, as well as they got to have people for us. What the hell? Why is Golden State still on there? I want Phoenix, and I want the Spurs. Let's take a look at this one. Who could we take? Ooh, Royce O'Neal would be kind of cool. I don't think the Suns can afford to take on more money, is the problem. Grayson Allen would be kind of cool to add to this group. I wouldn't be mad at that. At least like he's a competent role player or whatever. So like just out of curiosity. No, they can't do that. They can't take on more money. That just doesn't make any sense. The Suns are another team that just need to get below the luxury tax threshold. We could ship them off to Utah. They don't have a lot of depth at that position. I didn't select all the teams. Let's do Utah. Let's do the Spurs here. We could probably get something to work out here. So we want to dump Keldon Johnson to you guys. You guys have money. We could just take back like Kenyon Martin and then waive him right away. So this trade is going to fail. The Jazz are taking on a bit too much money. That's fine. We'll help you do something else here. What we could also do is take on Kevin Love and just buy him out as well, because we'll still come up money positive in this, and I think that is probably okay. So let's just say it's something like this, right? We just give you Keldon, you get to experiment with him, do with him as you will, right? He's not going to help you win too many games this year, but why not just give it a fucking chance? We'll even, because you're being so nice to us, we'll even attach like your own second round pick back in 2029. We'll give it back to you or something like that. There you go. Are we all happy? Are we all happy? The Spurs would just like cut Kenyon Martin because his money's not guaranteed to buy out Kevin Love. He doesn't necessarily want to be there anyway. But if Kevin Love wants to stick around as well and be a vet on this team, cool by me. Also very happy with that. So I think that's an avenue we could look at. Again, I don't see this team needing to move like anyone else. Like again, if the right person becomes available for Vassell, cool. I don't know who that would be though. So, because how much is he? He's $27-ish million. So who's somebody just below him on an expiring? Like, would Detroit give us Tobias Harris? Probably not. Well, that's where we could go with a Rozier. But I don't feel the need to necessarily do that. We'd have to get like a draft pick for that as well. But that is an option. That's always an option in these videos. Miles Bridges, no. Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy would be really cool if you could get on this team somehow. If that would be a really interesting player, honestly. Let's just take a look at like a Trey Murphy type move really quick. Just let's just say he becomes available for whatever reason. Trey Murphy, good young basketball player, right, at a position that's really valuable. Let's make this a trade deadline type of move. So Trey Murphy going over there. We send you guys Devin Vassell. This move should work just by itself. Yep, it does. It'd be great if I could lose more money in this, but I don't think that I necessarily can. So you guys get Devin Vassell, and what we'd have to attach like a draft pick or something like that. There's a Bulls pick here. There's this our own first round pick this year. They probably want a 2026 pick. So there you go, something like that, and then maybe like a protected Spurs pick or something like in another year or something like that. I don't know, something along those lines. That's another player that I'd maybe make the move for because he is so versatile. But otherwise, those are just ideas that I have for some trades. So you guys let me know what you think down below, what kind of moves you'd like to see them make. But let's move on to the rotations. Alrighty, rotation question mark. I always put the question mark on here just because, look, I'm not in the practices, I'm not in the training camps. That's when a lot of these decisions kind of get made. These are just me building rotations based off the basketball that I saw played by these individuals last year. These minutes here are obviously estimations or more so averages, because sometimes Fox is going to need to play 40 minutes, sometimes it's going to be 20 minutes. That's just how it is on any given night. And then also these EPM numbers right here, these are just the same numbers you saw here, but now we're weighting them based on how many minutes guys are being played. So kind of a cool little outlook here. Looking at this team right now, starting five wise, the only guys that we really have playing over 30 minutes a night are Fox and Wembanyama. Those are our two stud players confirmed, right? Those guys are studs. I got Vassell playing pretty close to that because that's our third scorer most likely on this team. Castle, wanting him getting a lot of burn. He was just rookie of the year, right? Barnes, solid minutes and need the veteran presence out there, I'm playing Dylan Harper more minutes than Castle. Here's my opinion. I personally would not be surprised if by the end of training camp, if you were a Spurs coach, that you would say Dylan Harper is better than Stephon Castle. I would personally be shocked if they put Harper on the floor like in front of Castle, because I think that there's something to be said about people kind of having to earn their playing time. A lot of times number 2 overall picks, they're starters right away. That's just how it is. So if that is the case, that is the case. But I think they'll make him earn it a little bit more. That's just what I think, but I would play him pretty heavy minutes this year because I think there's a big kind of prospect talent difference between Harper and Stephon Castle, and that should get you excited if you're a Spurs fan. Like, that's how high of a regard I hold Harper. That is no shit on Castle. Again, I like Castle. I hope that's clear. But again, I just think that there's some nuances there to that type of stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited about Dylan Harper. So you've kind of got like a 6-starter kind of system here. Then we got Keldon Johnson. We want to try to expose him, get some minutes out on the floor. I think that would be important. And then Julian Champagnie playing some solid minutes for us along with Luke Cornett. Sohan not getting as much burn as he was before, but we've got a lot of other solid players at other positions that I kind of just rather have on the floor. But as we need more defense, that's what we'll call his name. Then we got some solid reserves between Olynyk, Carter Bryant, and McLaughlin. We'll see what Lindy Waters is. So overall, not too shabby. Not too shabby of a group right here. Is it a contender? No, but solid team. Then we go over to lineups. This is where I freeball it a little bit more, and I come up with 3 rotations that I kind of want to see be run at different parts of the game just because I'm curious about them. First is Harper Plus right here. So this is us trying to optimize Dylan Harper, right? Want him to kind of be the primary creator on the team, trying to turn this guy into the stud player that I think he can be. So you got Devin Vassell out here, which gives him some playmaking, another scorer out on the basketball court. I think that's awesome. 2 spacers out here that can just kind of play their role, let Harper be the primary guy. And I'm playing him with Victor, man, because this might be our future right here. Harper and Victor, we got to figure out if this is going to be a thing, and that's how I want to go about it right here. By the way, this defensive number would probably be higher, but there's no EPM numbers for rookies right here, and I'm not going to try to estimate those. I don't think that makes really any sense. So obviously putting rookies out on the court always makes things a little bit more unpredictable, and that lowers scores. Castle Plus. But you don't want to forget about Stephon Castle either, because he's still a good basketball player, and we got to figure out what he's going to be. So here's what I'm doing with Castle, because he is a little bit different than Harper, right? I still want to play him next to Fox, because we have to figure out if this guy can play without the basketball as well. And so I'm going to be putting him next to Fox, which is risky, because that's not a lot of shooting between our 2 guards right here. But we're doing the same thing then of just putting those 2 next to Champagnie, Barnes, and Victor Wembanyama. This is the most kind of standard, like NBA kind of lineup look right here. So we said at the beginning, kind of trying to experiment with the guard rotation, see who can do what. This is my way of doing both of those right here. And then we've got no Wemby defense. This team is like the number 1 defense in the NBA when Victor Wembanyama's on the court, and then they become like the worst when he steps off. So how can we play some defense this year when he's not on the court? This is my idea. De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle again. Devin Vassell, just to kind of supplement maybe a little bit of scoring. Sohan's a good defender, and now we actually have a competent defensive backup center in Luke Cornett. This is how I'm going to try to accomplish having at least like an okay defense. But I will ask the question, is this even good enough? Is it possible for this team to have a good defense with Wemby on the court? I don't particularly know. This is better than the options they had last year, but hey, we're gonna wait and see. But those are just my ideas. This is where we now move forward, and I give you guys my standings prediction for where I think they're gonna finish the regular season next year. All right, y'all know how this works. I'm going to press this button right here, and the Spurs are going to appear wherever I think they're going to get ranked this season. This means I've got them as a play-in team at the very least. I think that this team could be a playoff team in some aspect. Do I think they're going to be all the way up at number 2? Like 4? Are they going to be like a for sure playoff team here? Are they a high-end play-in team? Where does AVC think that these boys are going to finish this year? Drum roll, please. Ooh, where the Spurs going to be? I got them as the 9. I got them as the 9 seed this year, just above the Grizzlies. Just above the Grizzlies. I think this team, if healthy, right? That's always the thing, right? If Wemby's out on that basketball court, I think they're going to have enough this year to definitely kind of wreak some havoc, right? Because that's just how good of a player you have in him right now. There's going to be a lot of experimentation going on. There's probably going to be some nights where things look a little bit ugly and kind of clusterfucked with all those guards, but I think you've got enough now, and there's enough of kind of a semblance of a bench to where you can do some very solid things on a night-to-night basis with this team. Again, a lot of these players are very young, though, so that's why I've got them only at a 9 seed. If it's higher, great, good for you, but that's where I'm keeping them for right now. This is where I turn it back to you. Where do you guys think the Spurs are going to finish this season? Leave me a comment down below and give me your kind of predictions for them. And speaking of comments, let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all. There's not a comment to the video for this one, but more so, we need to bring some attention to something in the comment section because we have an infestation going on in our comment section. It's coming from every video. Honestly, we're gonna focus on the one in the Denver Nuggets season preview video. Again, go watch all of these season preview videos. There's even more of them out than you see right now because again, I pre-record these. We've got a problem with our boy Aragon here, very active in the Discord. That's great, Aragon. Leaves a comment on every video. He talks about some motherfucker named Nate Ament, who I think is going to be like a freshman in college this season. He calls him Nate the Great Ament. He is very much solidified. Like, this is his call. This guy's going to be like the GOAT in the NBA. And in every video, he makes a comment about it, and oh my god, I just never know how to respond to this motherfucker. Yeah, this is pretty much what I got to say to him at this point. Here's what I say. I know that all of the rest of you know that this guy exists in here. Just let's all start shaming him, and let's see just how strong Aragon is in the comment section below. Is AVC anti-bullying? Fuck no. Go get Aragon. Let's don't make fun of Nate Ament. He did nothing wrong here, but I am starting to irrationally hate Nate Ament. And again, I know nothing about him. But let's see how strong Aragon is in the comment section below. Let's go after him. Let's go after him. But anyway, I appreciate you guys as always for all the great basketball discussions that are going to be had. If you want to have more great basketball discussions, go join the Discord. Link is in the description right here. It's also where you can get access to the spreadsheet right here. Just a reminder, I'm updating it all the time. So just come back and get the most up-to-date version whenever you need it. But as always, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all this stuff, and share the video with your Nana. I'm going to say hello to her later. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and yeah, let's kill it this week. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye.